So this is tribal talk with the people. Tribal talk with the clans folk, as it says in the title. So I got a sister that was asking some questions that I wanted to clear up for her. I'm looking for her to pop up so I could send for her. But this is a couple of things we have to get to understand why the paperwork is a trap. This is one of the most important things for the people to get. Why, if the paperwork appears to be legitimate, why is it a trap? Right? It's the appearance of legitimacy that makes the trap spring. Okay? So I'm waiting on this sister to get in here. I don't see her. So I'm gonna go over this with y'all until she comes in. Right? Okay, so this is why the paperwork is a trap. You automatically presumed to be an imbecile in law based off papal bulls issued by the Pope in the 1300s. You are the subjects of explorers who got the discovery doctrine from the Pope. This discovery doctrine that the Pope wrote is referred to as the white man's burden. The white man looked like us, but he has a position of rank and royalty that gives him a legal designation as a free white person in law. So you need to go to the earliest Black's Law dictionary you can get up, and you look up free white persons in law. When the sister come in, she can ask me the questions so I can make it even clearer. Hey, how you doing? So, so I was explaining why the paperwork is a trap, right? So this is part of the clarification that you wanted. Okay, so now going back over, did you hear the part when I was talking about the unum sanctums of the Catholic Church, the papal bulls that declared us all imbeciles? And then the doctrine of discovery that the papal bull that was also issued by a different pope that gave them what they called a right of conquest to institute something known as the white man's burden to spread Christianity around the world.
Right.
Okay. Now, from the position of being an imbecile in law, if you don't know this, you can't reverse it. Right?
Right.
So now, the first thing you have to understand is, where is the jurisdiction derived from? None of the jurisdiction is derived from the people of the land. That's the first problem. The second problem is the agreement that was made was between a merger company known as the Virginia Company or the Virginia Trading Company and the Northwest Trading Company. And both of them was trading in teas, tobaccos, and fur trade from colonial period. When the Boston Tea Party jump off and George Washington established himself as the first president, it's because we in war. So now in war, the ones who is in the conqueror's position, the designation free white persons in law, these people install an interim government to rule over the people that's actually from the land with the birthright and the ties to the land. They have no jurisdiction and they are aware of that, right? They're aware of it because they had to write a second constitution in the blood of Crispus Attucus, because the blood of the righteous shall not be spilled in vain. And this is where the George Washington challenge, Fezes versus Feathers, come in.
Right.
The invaders came in as Frenchmen, Dutchmen, Portuguese, and French, and in Spanish conquistadors. They were all under exile out of Europe at this time.
Right.
The final exile was completed around 1611 to 1614. They finally exiled them. Now, from 1492, they trying to find a city called Cordoba.
Mm-hmm.
It's the city of gold. Now, they are searching in South America for the city of gold, Cordoba, under Cortez and the hordes of conquistadors. They look like us, like me. They had some that looked like you, but the majority of them, including Cortez was maybe a little lighter than me. Okay, now when they established this interim government, they are establishing it against the will of the collective people of the land, what they call today the Native Americans that was already here.
Right.
Okay, now the establishment of the fraud is the assumed jurisdiction of the United States corporation. This is where it get critical. The assumed jurisdiction is not the truthful jurisdiction. It is a de facto corporation acting under the color of law. We have a superior claim in the court of righteousness. The
Right.
superior claim is because we tied to the land. This is the close of the age. All contracts is expired or they are closed as of July the 6th, 2019 for non-performance. That means that they never honored any other treaties that they signed, and they all were signed under false pretenses to begin with, because the people they signed the treaty with, we call $5 Indians, was declared chiefs by the presidency in order to sign these treaties. We not party to those treaties. So the only thing we can do from the position of right is discover the fraud. If you're an imbecile in law, you're going to feed into the fraud.
Mm-hmm.
They know if you file paperwork of any kind with them, you acknowledge their position, meaning that you remain the imbecile.
Right.
Right. Now,
Because you're doing their bidding.
right. You are following the instructions that the people that called you an idiot gave you to
Are telling
follow.
you to do.
Right.
Right.
So
I followed that.
if you use what they gave you to fight with, they only going to give you something to tie you deeper into the system. So in law, the doctrine of abandonment is applied on the discovery of the fraud. The abandonment doctrine means if you continue after the point of the discovery of the fraud, you become party to the fraud. You are equal and willing participant in the defrauding of the organic people of the land, because you filed this paperwork to try to get away from them. But all you did was prove their point that you are an imbecile.
Right.
Right? Now, once you prove their point, they go harder on your ass, because now you've proven you're an imbecile in law. You've given them jurisdiction because you traverse on the de facto corporation's jurisdiction when you put them on notice, when you acknowledge them in any written form.
Right.
Now, the only way out of any of that is to use the abandonment doctrine and abandon the contract. Put it on public notice for the people to know that you abandoned the contract for non-performance in the discovery of the fraud.
And by
Then,
putting it in public notice doesn't necessarily mean that you have to file paperwork their way. It's just
right,
public
it's
notice.
the tribal way that we done it before they came. We got to go back to our system to overthrow the de facto, the fraud. We have to use what's known as the de jure position. The de jure is going back to what we was doing before they came. That means we stand in our rightful positions as caretakers of the land, the air, and the water. Right now, all we need now is a jubilee year.
The what?
In which a jubilee year.
Okay.
Now, once we catch a jubilee year, any contracts that we unknowingly went in, the chief that discovers the fraud can void out every contract of every kind by putting it in the public domain and making it clear to the people that they've been victimized in this fraud and that these are the fraudulent agents and actors. They came from France, they came from Denmark, they came from Portugal, they came from Spain in exile from Europe over here, and they wanted to colonize us, convince us that we the same people and that we came from Africa. That automatically forfeits your right to the land.
I have a few questions.
Okay, let's go.
What is a Jubilee year, first of all?
Okay, so the Jubilee year is established as the year in which forgiveness of all contracts is executed. This is this year. This was declared a Jubilee year already. I didn't do it.
Okay.
So once I discovered the Jubilee year, now I'm telling everybody, these contracts are null and void now. Participating in any of their paperwork, anything that falls under Uniform Commercial Code, anything that falls under Admiralty and Maritime Law, if you use any of these things to try to prove you're not an imbecile in law, you by default prove you're an imbecile in law because you are entertaining a fraudulent entity to assert your non-fraudulent position.
Right. So I follow all of that, and I feel like I follow all of that to the point on how this applies worldwide, not just over here, because technically that's happening to everyone on
Right.
all the lands.
Right. So the tribal construct is the same all over Earth, wherever you go. When the order is given by the competent chief, he shows himself competent by exposing himself to the questions of the public. Right. And you expose yourself to the question of the public because you're telling the truth. And you standing in the position of right, which gives you in law is called a de facto position. I mean, the de jure position. You becoming the sui juris, the de jure person on the land, competent enough to override the papal bulls by telling you, no, this doesn't apply to us. And all of the things that this is the foundation of now no longer is in force because the fraud has been discovered.
So, like, the part where not even necessarily I'm having problems connecting the dots, because, like I shared with you, I'm in the midst of a situation, but like I haven't heard back at all from anyone, and I haven't changed my status. I haven't filed anything at all, and somehow, some way, life has made it so that I'm in a place where I haven't really even been working a regular job for the majority of the year, because in 2021 I joined the entertainment union and I started working on sets, and just that was before even awakening or like really tapping into who we are and what we are, because I've just had like really weird life experiences my whole life. But once I got on a set, I was like, nothing is real. Everything is a lie. Like everything is thoroughly scripted. And before even seeing a live of yours, I could not stop seeing like the slave mentality that is very, very, very predominant on set. The last talented person on a set is the actor. It like we are honestly so talented at making fake things look real, and these
Yeah,
people are literally giving away their life forces to make their dreams come true. Anyways, that's a whole other thing, right? So I'm in a position where I took a leap of faith and I was like, fuck it. I'm not going back to the industry. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure it out. I have some money saved. Things are going to work out. Then I find you, or you find me, or however that happened. And you keep talking about how anybody that wants you to sign a contract is a slave catcher. And then thinking about going to work, I have that in the back of my head. And I'm like, well, that's weird. So I'm in a place and space where I see the power that I hold. But for the everyday person, for the person that's, you know, getting more in touch with their spiritual self and their powers, and even for myself, like I'm seeing some things and coincidences and manifestations coming to life, but it's still taking some
Okay,
time.
when you count your coincidences, when you get past two, it's not a coincidence no more.
Right. And I'm seeing that, like I'm seeing all the synchronicities, and it all makes sense to me. But I know that if I'm driving on the street and my tags are not there, my driver's license not there, all of those things are not there, and a cop pulls me over, even now, knowing how to speak and how to say certain things, they still think they have a job to do and they
Right.
have a responsibility to uphold. So regardless of what I say, before I prove my point, there's a very big chance that I can end up in jail and then in a bigger problem to begin with. So that's where the dots get confusing for me a little bit. Slash, personally, I was born in Venezuela. My whole family was born in Venezuela, but my dad's side is more Italian than my mom's side. They're from northern Italy, and my mom's side, her dad is from southern Italy. And in terms of remembering who we are, they drove us around to make us forget where we came from. I also have so many questions that are not really specifically formulated about all of that, because the question that I want to ask is, what does that mean? But yeah, like what does that mean? Which land? All the lands?
And so everything that we doing over here, closing out these fraudulent treaty contracts that they made, it has been going on all over the world. Matriarchal communities are rising now. Like we still being shown movie sets. They telling us they tearing China up. But when you look at it, if you've ever seen the movie set, you see the extras standing around in what's supposed to be a turmoil situation, right? That's one of the dead giveaways that it's a filmed on a movie set. Because if everybody's running and screaming and throwing shit at each other, and then when the camera pans just a little too far to the right, you got spectators just standing. That's a fraud. That's a movie set. Those are extras. Nobody didn't tell them that it's their time to enter into the scene. They just got picked up by the camera haphazardly. But they did it on purpose because most people are not going to pay no attention no way. So these matriarchal governments, they rising in Africa, they rising in Asia, they rising in South America, North America, Australia, and New Zealand. The women are reclaiming the earth back because it's their birthright. Everybody in the Americas, all of the masters is here because all of the organics of the earth sent their masters here to fight this conjure war so that they can assist. So when you read the story of Lord Krishna in the old Vedic materials, he here. When you read the story of the rebels from the Haitian Revolution that overthrew the French, they're all here to close their conjures. And the ones who, like Haile Selassie, came back to offer his power as a monarch and a high priest magician to the people of this land to overthrow the same people that invaded Africa under the Berlin Conference. So all of the masters are here. Somebody just has to identify them. So that's what I've been doing. You know, Chief Sitting Bull was Notorious B.I.G. Christopher Wallace. Chief Crazy Horse was the one that we called the old dirty bastard, Big Baby Jesus Osiris, right? Tupac Amaru was Tupac Shakur, right? So when we get done going through all of the lists, I did name multiple people. That's their designation, and this is who they are. Haile Selassie came back as Ermias Ashkadam, aka Nipsey Hussle. He's in Eritrea right now because there was a confirmed murder order on his head. So the Nation of Islam extracted him, and everybody think Big U had him set up because that's the OG that the FOI had to get permission to perform a military action on their territory by removing one of the chiefs, right? They had to know, and then his mother was there. She was overseeing it to make sure that our baby didn't get hurt for real. People don't pay those little subtleties attention, right? But his mama said she was there, right? And what made her go, she said she seen Nipsey all lit up. Well, I already posted it on Facebook. He's standing with the nigga that put the hit on him, right? So when I get done telling everybody Tucson, that's divine insight. The Bookman in Florida, right? The priestesses, they here, right? John Dessalines, that's barbecue calling for Tucson to return back home so they can close the conjure. But he had to go through this prison system because you got to get out of this shit the same way you came in it. It's going to look the same. When you go back and study the Haitian Revolution, you find that the French took Toussaint captive not once, but twice. The first time they took him captive was before they set the revolution off. And when he escaped and he got out there to tell them what was going on, right, then they formulated a plan to call the ancestors forth to aid and assist in overthrowing the French on the land, which they end up successful. But we were still in the Gullah Wars in Florida. So when they finished the Haitian Revolution, the available soldiers in Haiti went to Florida to fight in the Gullah Wars. Jamaica sent soldiers to fight in Florida in the Gullah Wars. The Cayman Islands, the Dominica, which was actually Hispaniola with Haiti, they all came to fight in the Gullah Wars. When those other wars were fought to whatever conclusion they came to, all of the soldiers that were still fighting came to fight in Florida in the Gullah War. That's why they call it Seminole. Seminole comes from the root word semi, which means half. It was mixed tribes. So the Spanish called us Seminole. They all mixed up. Why are they all mixed up? Because we left every part of the land to go fight in Florida. They said that the Industrial Revolution caused the Great Migration to Detroit, New York, Chicago, right? And then Los Angeles. No, that wasn't what caused that. Because of the Conjure War, the George Washington Challenge, all of the soldiers that was fighting in the Gullah Wars who wasn't from Florida went back home. They declared the land abandoned under the Lewis and Clark expedition, in which they was doing a land survey to determine the royal hierarchy on the land, and they discovered that all of the castles was empty because none of the chiefs sent their soldiers to war without going with them. So we cleared out all of the castles. They turned them into prisons and state buildings and asylums and told us crazy people when convicts supposed to go there. Them was the people from the land they was holding hostage. The Trail of Tears is when they took the name off Big Mama House and called it the Big House, and they labeled her farm the plantation, right? But that was a POW camp. It wasn't a slave camp. And we get that part of history confused in order to push the narrative that we from Africa, not from here. As soon as we get past that narrative, the only way to get past that narrative is good Pan-African studies. And the Africans will tell you when you talk to the scholars, y'all ain't come from over here, bruh. That's some bullshit they made up so they could steal y'all shit.
I was in Seattle. This was when I first moved to Atlanta, so closer to 2013, 14 maybe. And I went to go visit a really close friend in Seattle, and I was talking to one of his coworkers who was from Ghana, somewhere in Africa. And we're talking, and I don't remember what I must have said, but I must have said something about me being white. And he looked at me and he said, "You're not white." And I looked at him, and there was like this understanding because personally, like I said, because I was born in Venezuela, grew up in Italy, like, especially since I've come over here, whenever I'm filling out forms and it says white, Hispanic, I'm like, these options are incorrect for me personally. So I kind of understood what he said, but it didn't really click into obviously recently the true meaning of what he said. But as far as back to the paperwork, like, how does someone who doesn't have saving, who is living day to day, how do they tap into their trust? Like
Okay, now,
how
ain't nobody getting in their trust until we overthrow the dead system. We know when the dead system is overthrown because they're going to put it in the public domain. The transitional government is currently underway in Raven Rock, Colorado, right? When you go back and you listen to the lady that put the Pope on notice, she said that the mothers of the land has already picked the chiefs. They
okay,
know who we are and they know what we doing,
okay,
right? But the people that's not from the land that don't speak what we speak, they can't understand what we doing until it get to a certain point where they remember enough of their ancestral memories to put the same pieces together. Following,
right,
clarifying the stories of are we Moors or were we already here, right? Clarifying the story, Moor is a catch term. It was created specifically for an agenda. The same as Cherokee. When you do the etymology of Cherokee, it's not even the same. It ain't even a similar spelling, right? So when you start figuring all of this out, it wakes you up to the awareness that if these people are frauds, the only way to get rid of them is to accept your own and be yourself. Stop trying to be them. Because as long as you're trying to be them, they 100% right. You are an imbecile in a legal jurisdiction. And you keep traversing on their jurisdiction because you don't know no better. As soon as you learn better, you separate. Ain't nobody getting to their trust until we get done with this shit. And then you ain't gonna have to look for what's yours because the order has already been given. Give everybody what they rightfully earn, what they rightfully deserve by the law of right, which is the law of righteousness, right? So if you took their family shit, this the Jubilee year for you to give it back. We gotta have enough memory of the culture because all of the parts of the story is in our culture, told in song and dance and art, right? So tomorrow I got a 9:30 with young elder where a picture worth 1,000 words where we reading pictures, right? Because we didn't just read the written word. All of our written documents was kept at Big Mama house. So if you go back and you find out that a lot of our elders' birth records got burned up in the town square, in the city hall building, and they all burned them down to get rid of the records. But the records that predate 1492 is kept in caves and national parks so that we can't stumble across them. And then they flood us with misinformation to deliberately mislead the people. And anybody that try to tell us what's going on become marked for death. That's a Steven Seagal Italian knock for you, marked for death.
Um, in my head, not even in my head, like in my body, in my spirit, whenever, like, all I feel like and all I can sense, the best reference I have is I grew up watching Sailor Moon in Italy, and I've recently had it on in the background just playing, and I'm just blown away by all the symbolism in there to begin with. And all I truly feel and see is like Crystal City. That's where I feel like I'm going next.
Right. The Crystal City is going to land in Colorado on Emerald Lake. It's a jumper ship. That's the Cordoba, the city of gold they couldn't find. Because when the Anunnaki wars took place, when Enlil launched his power attack on Earth, that's the ship that Enki's son Marduk took to Nibiru. And when Enlil's son Marduk took over Earth, Enki's son Marduk took over Nibiru so that the Enlil won't shoot for his father's seat of power, which would have really been fucked. So when the ship come back, that's where it's gonna land. In that county that Emerald Lake is in is it's called I think it's called Bow County,
Mm-hmm.
and that county is shaped like the Liberty Bell.
Hmm. So now that I'm talking to you, I actually, when I was a child, like elementary school child, I read a book that talked about this like crater hitting somewhere, creating a lake, and then like these vampires or like other beings came out. And I keep thinking about that book a lot.
What's the
Um,
name of it?
I don't remember at all because it was an Italian book too, because I was in Italy at the time. But
Mm-hmm.
then
Because
years
they
later,
got books over in Europe that we don't get. We don't have over here. And the information that they put out in the public domain over there is no ways the same as the information we get. When we get Oxford University's History of the World and Georgetown University History of the World, Georgetown is over here, Oxford is over there. But when you look at the history of the world, they telling two entirely different stories.
that like I follow that because I'm assuming it's because the experience, the life experience that I've had, where I've lived in three different continents, and I did go through the Italian educational system, and I say it often, but I haven't really learned anything since I've been in the States. I've learned how to play the system because the universities have always tried to like tell me one thing over the other, as far as like what my progress was. But then I moved to Atlanta. A few years later, I went to visit NOLA for the first time with a girlfriend. We walked into um, a voodoo shop, and we ended up speaking to a woman who was doing readings, and we ended up speaking to her for hours. and she was reading my friend and like giving her messages and all sorts of things. And then she looks at me, and at that time, plenty of quote unquote weird things had happened in my life, but I never really truly embraced it because my grandma was schizophrenic and my mom has a ton of trauma from it. So it's never really spoken about until I started asking questions recently. But that woman, when she came to me, she just looked at me for a few minutes and she was like, I can't read you. Like, all I'm getting is deep waters. And
That's your mother line's protection, a veil that they put up for the oracles. That should have told her a couple of things. That one, that you come from an earth tribe, because everybody, but your earth tribe is waterbenders. When your birthday?
January 28th. So I'm in Aquarius.
Yeah. So you write on the energy signature for that. That's why she couldn't see nothing but the waters.
And I love the water. I love.
So when you go back and you study the customs of old Italy, they had the same Big Mama. You know what I'm talking about? The old lady that make, come here, son, sit down and eat. You're not leaving my house without a plate. That lady, right? That's an Earth trait. That's not Anunnaki. We do that on Earth. It's a mother thing to do. And on the feminine planet, you can tell those native, because these women have to feed you before you leave, because if something happened to you, she could have gave you your last meal and received the blessing for feeding you before you went out.
So if she wasn't able to read me, but I also wasn't trying to make it easy for her to read me. I was
I know,
testing her.
because you wired that way from your life experiences and your genetic memory.
So what about when I do go get readings and they're very on point? Is it because I'm
You
more open?
participate. You
Okay.
participate.
Okay.
Right, because
That
you
makes
have
sense.
you have to trust the person doing the reading enough to participate, and then they can pick it all up.
Right. And speaking of, Italian ways, a few years ago, I was listening to Imani heavily, and she was talking about she was just not gonna interact with us anymore and stop going live because she was catching a lot of backlash for it. And I remember feeling all
Who is
sorts of
she?
the hood healer.
Okay, all right, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, because that's how I found you, through her.
Mm.
But this was
She
before
asks
even
good
the band.
questions too.
What's up?
She asks really good questions.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I saw that live, and I was just shook. I was I was so confused and not confused at all. Like, it was the weirdest feeling, and luckily I had one person that I could share the video with, and they confirmed a lot of things that I had been feeling going through my whole life. Um, but this was before pandemic, when Imani was saying, I'm gonna stop going on live, I'm gonna stop doing the readings. And I freaked out a little bit because she was just like so on point, and like I was receiving her messages and whatever she was saying. But anyways, I go to an artist market, and there's a book there that's called Italian Witchcraft. And I just pick it up, and the girls are like, that's so funny, my partner didn't want me to bring this book, it's a rare book, but I just brought it. And then when I was reading it, I was like, I feel like I know all this stuff, but I don't know how I know the stuff because
It's
it's never.
genetic memory. Because when the genetic memory kick in, you'll start telling somebody, you'll be like, why in the fuck do I even know this shit? When you pick up a book and you, like, it's Italian, real true Italian magic is based around food.
I, I believe that.
Spirit cooking. Like a lot of what Abramovich was doing with spirit cooking, She used the blood rights of the Babylonian blood magic and instituted them into the Italian cooking. And she's from Russia. She was he was a agent that came over here in drag in a witness protection program from Russia through the CIA. That's why Abramovich was even here.
Mm.
But she was protected by the old man George Herbert Walker Bush, who brought her over him, whatever the fuck the motherfucker is, trisexual, transtestical, whatever the fuck she is. But Bush brought the individual over here, and the individual's brother was a Russian mob boss in Russia. They look just alike, except this motherfucker wear a wig and makeup.
So the other interesting thing is that grandpa on my mom's side, who is from southern Italy, was a prisoner of war in World War II in
Mm-hmm.
Italy, which means he was on the Nazi side. And when the United
No, no,
States,
no, no, no. Because allies with Hitler was Benito Mussolini, who was the leader of Italy at the time. If he was a POW under Mussolini, then he was either anti-war or he was a dissident. He
no, he
didn't.
was a prisoner of war of the Americans
Oh, the Americans had him. That means he's one of the good ones.
because he said, I'm gonna end the war on the same side that I started it with. So that's I just I don't know if that's a question, but that's a big question mark. And he was
Because
also
right, he was saying that he wasn't no turncoat. Right, I ran across a lot of people telling me to abandon the people that sent me on the mission because they didn't like the way they look. But they sent me to go extract their ass from some dumb shit. That like that make this shit make sense. You a soldier, I'm a soldier. The general sent me to come get you, and you want me to abandon the general in order to run off with you. Make it make sense. It don't work like that.
so like is it possible that grandpa knew more things that he ever shared with anyone?
Yeah, a lot of what was going on in World War II was kept secret because they didn't want their children privy to that type of traumatic information.
But at the same time, he's the one that was married to my grandma, the schizophrenic, and
That just means she was an untrained oracle.
I'm aware, but nobody in the family saw it like that,
Yeah, because
especially not
you the only one
grandpa.
supposed to figure it out.
Okay.
That's your job. You the family redeemer.
The family is all spread out. I don't talk to anybody from
You
the
still the family
Minnesotan side.
redeemer. You still the family redeemer. No, no, that don't matter. Your birth position in your family tree classified you as the family redeemer. That's why you born under Aquarius. We going into the Aquarian age. The water signs rule with the wisdom of the ages.
So, like, regardless of the fact that nobody in my family
They'll be back.
hears what I'm talking
Look,
about.
they don't have to hear you. When the shit get done clearing up, they gonna look for you because they not gonna be able to get to their family bank without you.
And whatever information I feel like I'm still missing, that's just gonna
It'll come.
come in.
Yeah, because if you get everything at one time, you won't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Knowledge comes in degrees and by level. The level of understanding increases the level of information. If you're not mentally prepared to process it, digest it, and apply it, it has to wait until you develop to the point you are. And that's why it takes some of us 50 years to be an elder, but others are elders at 33 or 42 or 44.
Okay.
Because it takes us different levels. The older souls take the longest to wake up because they do everything slow.
Um, it's just, I'm so grateful for you because, like I said, I've had so many questions, especially like things just started happening when I got to Atlanta. Um, like my diet started changing, just like weird things. And that's really when I started becoming aware of like these questions that I've had. And then this like anger towards men, although like
That
personally in my life, I've had shitty boyfriends, but I've had great men around me. Um, and I never quite understood where
so
that
let
comes
me
from.
explain it to you so you can understand. The reason why a lot of women are put off with men is because there's been a ongoing rape campaign, desecration of holy places, which mean the mutilation of women, both vaginally and both the mammary glands, desecration of the holy places. The women who are in sync with Mother Earth know that she's going through the same thing, right? They cut down the tree of life in South Africa because that's where we used to store our memory. So when we reconnect back to the tree of eternity, the tree of life, but we put our hands on it and it grounds, and our consciousness will feed through our body, and our DNA will begin unlocking in levels. And we used to do these rituals. It was the major one. The mother tree was in South Africa at the Yoni of Earth's Yoni. But you had these trees all over the world where tribes would go to upload and download information. The trees are record keepers of the earth as well as the stones, right? So we go and we put our hands on the tree and our bare feet to the earth, and whatever signature our family over the years has left in the tree uploads into our system through a cycle of information exchange between you and the tree. That's why they is so gung ho on chopping these trees down. They got a whole campaign been running in South America for the last 200 years, and they can't get the Amazon rainforest chopped down fast enough. But now it's too late because all these tribes waking up.
Okay, so South America cutting down trees. Then why why is South America in the state that it's in? And I'm particularly thinking about Venezuela. Like there, my mom went maybe 5, 6 years ago and had a mental breakdown when she was there because of like how scarce the resources are.
They still have war energy hovering over them. The whole South America, Central America, North America has been in a warlock for the last 200 years. So when we go back to Venezuela, Colombia, um, um, Brazil, and these
Argentina.
different countries down there, in certain areas where you go, where the warriors fought the hardest, where the energy is the strongest, and you get caught up in that war energy. And if you're not strong enough to absorb and transmute it so you can use it, it'll break your ass down like a midget breaking down a giant. You won't ever understand what's going on because you're not reading the lay of the land and the energy of what's been going on. We've been in a long 500-year war, right? And they've used every artifice of deception to keep us ever figuring out what the fuck they was doing.
So back to the paperwork. And I
Yeah.
apologize if I'm being
No,
dense.
you got to keep coming back because it's a question that need to be clarified, not just for you.
E- exactly. So, like, how what is the strategy for someone that doesn't have the material or financial means at the moment to hold them over?
That ain't nothing they can do. They just got to do the best they can until they in a different position.
Okay.
But it's, everybody finna feel the pinch.
Okay.
When we get to the flip point, everybody gonna feel the pinch. Ain't no escaping somebody. You can try to avoid the suffering, but it's coming. And
Okay.
it's not doomsday prophecy. It's transition from old to new. It's labor pains, birthing pains. A woman understand that better than anybody else.
The
You ain't gonna escape the pinch. You're gonna feel it.
the other thing that I kind of keep thinking about in terms of like paperwork and um, your words about like people are just gonna start dropping around us repeat in my head all the time. And I mean, I feel like I've been talking to robots for a long time.
A lot of these motherfuckers is.
So the other thought that I had recently is like, are they actually gonna start like dropping around us, or is
They
it just
already started. They got a whole movie out called I forgot the name of it. It's like sudden death or something. But they got a name for it. Look it up. It's called SADS, sudden adult death syndrome.
right?
Everybody blaming it on the hokey pokey, but this shit was gonna happen whether they did the hokey pokey or not, because everybody not synced to the mitochondria of the earth, and that's how Earth get rid of the parasites.
Okay, so that's what you mean, like when, because I was like, the other thing that it's making sense to me or coming to me, it's the fact that like consciousness and awareness. So like obviously, the more you tap into yourself, what you're seeing with your eyes of this reality, it's gonna be entirely different than everyone else around you.
Well, I'm gonna give you a prime example. If you went to Chicago in '92, all of the suburb cities had big strip malls. That was the thing to invest in. If you go there now, all of those strip malls is empty. Where in the fuck is all these people at?
Mm,
Like nobody's noticing that there's millions and millions of people literally not here no more. Some of them, right? We went to bed one night, woke up, and they don't exist, right? But we still in the same holographic construct. So the layout looks the same, but some of the what they call non-actionable players in the game just not in the game no more. We passed that level now.
okay. I have, I mean, I have tons of questions. So you let me know when it's time for somebody else, because I have tons of questions. But in
The
terms
name of
of
that movie was Die Suddenly.
Die Suddenly,
Yeah.
I mean, I rewatched Avatar before 2020 hit, and granted, I was stoned, but when the movie was over, I was so shook because I was like,
Because
this
it's the
this
story of the Anunnaki's arrival on Earth.
yeah, I
And
was like,
all you
this
got to do is remember this. When we was breathing the double oxygen molecule, we were governed by what's called the platinum group metals. They
the what?
came platinum group metals. And our skins were pinks and greens of different olive hues. When you look at the olive, it's not just green olives. You got black olives, red olives. You familiar, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. But these different shades of the olive, it was used to represent the different daughters of Isis, which was the 12 daughters of Isis and the sun. The last two daughters, Scotta and Scotia, was the founders of Scotland and Ireland. These was the ones they ran out when St. Patrick talked about he was hunting the snakes. So we say olive complexion because it's a series of colors.
And my mom is olive tone, and if she spends 2 minutes under the sun, she just entirely dark. Um, but in terms of universal law,
Mm-hmm.
right? If energy is neither created nor destroyed, and if everything you put out must come back to you, then what did women do that
Well,
we've been oppressed for so long?
the women didn't do anything. That's what made it so evil.
But
The women are being oppressed for being good, for being inherently righteous at the root, and being the heirs to earth. This is what their punishment was for. It's a war, but it comes across as punishment because you can only see the side that we of the war that we own, the victim side, the defender side, the black side of the chessboard. They coming in from the attacker side, the white side of the chessboard. And that's why they use these color designations to divide us so we can't never figure out the game they playing.
so it's
That,
not because we got to, like, it's not because we misused our own power once we created man.
no, that was done by permission of Prime Creator. It was a joint venture between Mother Earth, the Queen of Heaven and Earth, and Prime Creator to create men for companionship and protection because they knew that the motherfuckers was coming. And the women back then had instant manifestation abilities that was usurped using conjuring science. That's why they put the moon there to handicap the women. That's what the story of Eve is all about. If people pay attention to the story, the first rat on record was motherfucking Adam bitch ass because he didn't protect his woman. And then he told on her and gave her up to the enemy who was masquerading as their God. Where she was standing firm, he threw her to the wolves. Now that's a bitch ass, coward ass motherfucker if I ever seen one.
There was a time that you were talking about, I believe it was you, um, about braiding hair and how that's protecting your crown chakra or whatnot. And when it was time for my confirmation in Italy, I'm unsure of what ended up happening, but I ended up doing all my girlfriends' hairs and braiding out their hair, which I think about often nowadays.
Hairdressers was a position of rank in our organic communities.
A position
Also,
of rank, you said?
yeah, when you go so now we go to beauticians, but the beauticians was trained out of the royal families. They the ones came up with the wigs thousands of years ago. Like you had the guys now who call themselves woke that talk about the sisters that wear the weaves. We invented that shit before racism existed. Racism didn't exist when we invented weaves. Racism didn't wasn't here when we invented wigs. The first wigs shit looked like lamb's wool because they was made out of lambskin fur. But we don't want to acknowledge that, and we want to say because she got extensions in her hair, she's trying to be other than what she is. Some of these sisters got straight hair too. Black as you can get them. Look like a Hershey bar skin complexion with straight hair, her natural hair. But we don't know the history of ourselves enough to know that the one who does the hair, that's a position of rank. Everybody not allowed to touch our hair.
Hmm.
That's why barbers and beauticians have a special place in what we call the organic communities, and that's why people from all over the world cater to our fetish for doing our hair. Our women love to do their hair in different styles. She can wear an afro today, and she can wear that motherfucker's pressed out tomorrow. depending on how she want to change her look. That was part of what was called the beauty. So this one is titled Buffalo Soldier. So I'm gonna do some invites, give y'all a chance to come in before I get started about Buffalo Soldiers. So I was just doing the live explaining the paperwork and why it's a trap, how it's a trap, and how to get out of it. In the course of that, somebody made mention of Buffalo Soldiers in the comments, and I wanted to touch on the Buffalo Soldiers because Buffalo Soldiers was indigenous tribes. If you go to the Flintstones and you see what's known as the Buffalo Lodge, right? That was the real brotherhood of the buffalo. And there was a tribal it was a tribal community. The soldiers, they learned to fight like buffalo soldiers. And the reason they called them buffalo soldiers is because the headdress was made out of buffalo horns, right? And once you understand that our history has been usurped and that all of this stuff that they tell us is mythology about who we are and who we were, and they saying this shit is made up. But we can go back and find the Buffalo Soldiers. Look, Buffalo Soldiers with the buffalo headgear, right? That's not a secret. Buffalo, Buffalo, Buffalo. All of those are Buffalo Soldiers. Buffalo, when you got to the top rank, now you are a member of what's called the Buffalo Lodge. Now, we didn't just have Buffalo Soldiers. We had Bull Moose Soldiers. We had all of the totem animals was literally utilized in our culture. The bison, we called the bison our brother, the brother bison, the bull. And then we used to have elephants, pachyderms over here. They tell us that was thousands and thousands of years ago, but no, it wasn't. Just like the camels came from over here, but they got us thinking they came from the Middle East. But the camels came from the same place that the llamas come from, and the alpacas. They all from the same family, right? So when we talk about Buffalo Soldiers, this is what we're talking about, but they tried to change the narrative in order for us not to participate in our own historical record and uncovering the records of who we were, right? We used to ride on alligators in the swamp. They didn't eat us. So what they do, they start feeding them our babies. They call it gator baiting. Why do you bait gators? Because you want them to attack what you're using for bait. So they use the children, they cut them, make the blood smell, and throw them in the water to get to create the taste for human flesh that the alligators didn't have. The alligators was under the dominion of the Sobek priests. The Sobek priest was called Sobek priest because Sobek was the alligator god. But he wasn't a god to us. He was the energy or the spirit of the alligator. And in some places, crocodile, depending on your geography, they all part of the Sobek temple. The crocodilians is the tribes that fell up under the totem animal, that they are the ones who harness the gold elixir or the gold oil from the alligators and crocodiles for the crest ceremony. We don't know this shit because we don't be looking at our culture from the eyes of somebody who understands us as a people. We looking at the culture from the eyes of those who came and tried to conquer us. So they gave us a narrative to look at that has nothing to do with who we are as a people. So you have to go back to who you are as an individual and then find the individuals that match that frequency, and you know who your clan and your tribe is. That's how you link up, posse up, clan up, tribe up, feathers the fuck up on these motherfuckers. Right? Um, we had beaver clans, coon clans. Matter of fact, Mayor Lightfoot out of Chicago is one of the chiefs of the clan of the coon. Her totem animal is the coon. And the reason why they was given that totem animal because they got a distinctive coon-looking mask that they born with. They look like that. You can't take it from them as part of their DNA, right? So they adopted the totem animal of the raccoon. When we call people coons, normally that was a derogatory term because the ones that we call coons, we could send in to infiltrate without them turning. So the enemy became abhorrent to the coons. Because these niggas would come in like John Dessalines, and if it looked like I took sides with these motherfuckers 100 times, believe me when I tell you, I'm going to betray these motherfuckers 100 times. So they told us that porch monkeys was bad, right? Because they don't want you identifying with the gorilla clans, right? These monkey clans are totem animals for different tribes of people. And if you got the gorilla grip, you got the master grip that you can motherfucker shake this bitch from pillar to post. That's what it is. We not falling for the bullshit no more. We know who we are. We know where we fucking came from because we was already fucking here. It wasn't here until we created this motherfucker. Right? So, there was another sister I wanted to add in here. She go. There's many books about studying spirit animals. Read all of them. Just don't take sides. Read the information and study the totem animal. If you call your totem animal, it's gonna come to you in a dream or a vision, right? And the way that you call your totem animal is you have to ground to the earth, barefooted on the soil, and you put your knees on the soil in your palms, face to the ground like you're doing the salat, and tell Mother Earth, send me my totem animal, and you're going to have a dream, a vision, an experience. Or if it's a hawk, you're going to see these motherfuckers everywhere you go where you never seen them before because Mother Earth going to answer the call, right? So the sister didn't come in. I'm going to go to somebody else. We used to have lions in North America. Google North American lion. Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, Rod.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Where you chiming in from?
Right now I'm in Dallas. I'm from Houston
Okay.
though.
The Lone Star State. Big Texas in the house.
Right.
Take the
So,
bottom of your map and see where Houston at. It's on the borderlines of hard times.
exactly. So, Rod, one of the first things I did want to ask you about was like, so you know how you talk about, women coming together and how, just for preparing for the future and women needing to come together and things like that. But right now, like in my family, my mom and like my grandmother, they don't really like get along like that, and I feel like it affects me. Like I kind of get in the middle of it, and I feel like my mom is starting to do that to me. So I feel like it's like a generational thing that's
It
starting to
is.
like happen.
The only way to cure that generational curse is you got to get with the rest of the sisters that's under them too. And y'all got to make y'all mind up that mama and grandmama gonna put that bullshit to the side. And then when y'all all get together and y'all go in and tell them we gonna break this generational curse today. This is a generational curse It's part of the destruction of the family. And all of us younger sisters is coming to our elders in order to put the family back together. We're going to end this generational curse today. So whatever you got problem you got with your mama, whatever you got with your daughter, y'all going to hash that shit out now, whatever it takes. We going to fix that shit today. And
Right.
when they see the general consensus, especially the younger girls supporting it, they're gonna do it because they know what their position is, and nobody's called them to arms.
Right.
So that might be your job to break that generational curse because you're the one asking the questions.
And that's what I was thinking. Like, I was thinking that, and
Yeah,
I've been feeling that way for a long time now.
yeah, because
Because
you're tired of the shit.
right, I'm tired of it, and like I'm like the oldest, like of the grandchildren. I'm my mom's first. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel that a lot of the time
Okay.
it comes back to me to where it's like I have to have some type of input. But it's like when I try to share certain, like the knowledge that you teach us and that you've been sharing with us, when I try to share certain knowledge with, my family or them and things like that, I don't think that they are able to comprehend any of that. And like um some of the things that I suggest, like you said, hash it out and things like that, it's kind of like,
Mm-mm. You
they're
you
kind
you
of like
going at
hard
the
to.
hard part first. Don't go at the hard part first. Build your support team first. These is your sisters and your girl cousins in your age bracket. The
Right.
conversation you having with them is, I'm not sure if y'all aware, but the earth belongs to the women. And if we
Right.
don't get our family on the same page with the women, then we won't be part of the reclaiming of the earth that's in the process.
Exactly.
So I'm starting here with the ones who I can talk to.
Exactly. And my cousin in here, hey Camry, my cousin in here, she's my first cousin, my mom's brother's daughter. So
Hmm.
we got the same grandmother, so she already know what's going on.
Yeah, she
But
part of it too.
yeah.
See, you and her y'all gonna start gabbing the rest of the girls one at a time, sitting her down with you and her, and give them the rundown. We ain't from no fucking Africa. We was already here.
Right.
They tried to steal our shit, but we got it back. But we need to get on the same page,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And once you get all of the ones that's your age, then you start moving up the hierarchy. Y'all
Hmm.
start drawing in your mama sisters.
Right. Take it slow. Take it a
Yeah.
step at a time.
But start with your age group first, because y'all the ones that's ready to pounce.
Right.
So
That's
when
true.
they see y'all all in agreement, they gonna be overwhelmed with joy, contrary to
Hmm.
what you might think.
Right.
They had to see y'all do it first in order for them to remember what must be done.
Hmm.
So you got your sidekick right there, y'all Batman and Robin on their motherfucking ass.
Right. I guess it's time to really get on it.
Yeah. And then like start having sessions with the girls and the family, go over some of these videos that you think is important information and get the questions and come on.
Mhm.
We gonna call Ride over here. We gonna ask these questions y'all got.
Yeah.
I'ma come.
Okay.
I might have to Zoom or StreamYard, but I'll be there.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. But I
Yeah.
knew
Us
I
fuck
had.
that, but the same apply to all of the sisters listening. Don't try to fix the hard part first.
Mhm.
Build you a group, a support system that's on the same page of we family, fuck that bullshit, blood over bullshit all day long.
Right.
You don't have to always agree with nobody. You're not supposed to. That means that y'all robots when you do. You're supposed to have different opinions in different areas because you learn different shit,
Hmm.
right? So when you realize y'all got a difference of opinion, call one of your other cousins in. Hey, what do y'all think about this?
Right.
Let's study the problem and see what we can come for a solution.
So, another thing that I wanted to touch on is that, like, you know, how family members and mainly like the black community they're so big on like Christianity and things like that. whenever I have a family member, like what do you suggest is what I'm asking. Like when you have family members that come to you and they're like, well, you know, I've had cases where my mom, she's calling me evil because I come to her and I tell her about like the ancestors protecting me. I tell her about all of these things and she just like, you know, you don't believe in Jesus, all like, you know, I'm kind of getting tired of hearing that. And I'm like, how do you even tell somebody who is so
Okay,
big
the
on
first thing
Christianity?
that you do is go to the Bible store, get a Strong's Concordance. First thing you do. If you got Christians and they want to talk and they calling you evil, first thing you want to tell them is Jesus is ISIS. Take them straight to the Strong's Concordance that translate every word in the Bible. Look up Jesus, go back to the Greek, because the Greek and the Hebrew section in there, and show them it's going to be spelled IESOUS. Break down the spelling and apply the rules of grammar. The capital I silences the E, makes the S go hard. The O and the U gives the sound and makes the S go hard. ISIS. Once they let them sit with that for a minute.
They're gonna be clueless. They ain't gonna know. They're gonna be like, what are you talking about?
But you taking them to the source. If this is what they believe, they need to know the truth.
Right.
The J 500 years old, and you say the power is in the name. We need to go back to the original powerful name. ISIS, Queen of Heaven and Earth. Returning to earth as a bride adorned for her groom, right in Revelation.
Right.
Unless you're saying Jesus is a sissy or a crossdresser, a drag queen, a trans testicle. What you saying? See, then you got them in a position where you just opened them up to receive the truth. Because you didn't tell them, you showed it to them.
And see, I have to do some more research on that myself so that I'm able to break that down more to them so that I can get my point across so they can eventually understand. But like, you know, I just want to say I appreciate everything that you've shared and like how you are able to articulate to be able to get everybody to understand what you're saying. And like I said, that was just something I've been pondering on for a while. And it's difficult because I noticed that a lot of, you know, copper women have that going on in their family as well. So, you
Yeah,
know.
it's because it's part of the conjure. Look, all of the patriarchs in the Bible in real life was matriarchs. That's why they don't exist. That's why you can't find them biblical characters, because everywhere they looking for, they done changed the names of the sisters and replaced them with men in order to confuse the masses. This y'all shit, and I'm here to get it back to you.
Right.
So we got to go through this process.
Absolutely.
Right? But let the Christians stay Christians if they want to. They won't stay long when they start hearing enough truth. For right now,
Exactly.
for right now though, you don't want to fight them. Tell them Jesus back, and that nigga named Rod Hayes, and he said the real Jesus' name is ISIS. He said they told y'all a lie because he ain't no motherfucking woman. He ain't no love and light motherfucker. He the motherfucker came pounding his motherfucking chest, beating the concrete to shake you motherfuckers awake.
Right.
She coming with the sweet water, with the love, unconditional love shit. I came to tear some shit up. But it just so happened they won't let me tear no shit up physically. They want me to tear it up intellectually. To go on a campaign of brain banging around this motherfucker to knock some of these cobwebs loose in some of these guys' mind so they can remember who the fuck they is. Be
Yeah.
fucking still and know that you God, motherfucker. Right? So while I'm raising hell, she coming with that unconditional love shit, but I got to get the riffraff out the way first. I got to drag these imposters out. These motherfuckers telling y'all that y'all Moors and y'all motherfucker from Africa when you was already here before a Moor African ever stepped foot over here. And we ain't never had problems with no Africans until them motherfuckers tried to tell us we was from Africa. Now the Africans mad at us for not knowing who the fuck we is.
Yeah.
So they go, Garvey say, create a confraternity and study Pan-Africanism. Go back to Africa, they gonna tell you where you from. That's why when you study Pan-Africanism, it started off with the slave trade and reverse engineer you back into what the fuck is you doing over here? You from over there. That's what they be. Every African from every country I spoke to them, from Ghana, from Sierra Leone, from the Sudan, Somalia, Ethiopia, South Africa, Kenya, the what's the name of that? Djibouti, whatever the fuck the name of that country is. They done came from everywhere, and they all tell me the same thing. You ain't from Africa, nigga. You from over here. I was like, I've been telling these motherfuckers, but they keep talking about I'm an African American.
Right.
I don't know what that shit is.
Exactly. Exactly.
So once we get past that motherfucking illusion, right, we get ready to get the imposters off the land, I get to roll my motherfucking sleeves up and wade in their goddamn blood up to the horse's bridle.
I feel that. Get them niggas right.
Get them niggas.
Fuck them
Rob off.
niggas. I ain't got no problem. I drag their ass all the way out in the open. Hey, look, if I had the permission, I would go knock on these niggas' door to introduce y'all to them. I knock on that nigga door. I be like, this the leader of this motherfucking more Zionist Jew shit. This nigga right here. Watch when he come to the door. The nigga gonna come to the door looking like George fucking Jefferson dipped in chocolate.
Oh, I was gonna ask you. Let me see, two things. I was gonna ask you if you watched this show called Inside Job. I don't know if you watch any Netflix shows or not. But have you heard of that show?
I never heard of it.
Yeah, it's this show called Inside Job. It's like they expose like governmental things, and it's on Netflix. I was just wondering if you had watched that or not.
But now that you told me, I don't watch TV except for professional wrestling.
Oh, okay.
But I like when people refer a movie to me and say there's some codes in there and I need to go crack them. I'll go watch a movie. I gotta watch Black Adam because I had too many people tell me to go watch it.
That shit.
Black Adam. Oh yeah, TJ here. You was on live with him yesterday.
Peace, God.
But yeah, you should check out Inside Job. Like, it's a pretty good show, but it has some stuff in there that you might like too.
Look, what they say, the most dangerous book ever published.
Exposed. Okay.
The book your church don't want you to read.
Dang, I need these books.
Check this out. This is just some of my books. That's the Book of Five Rings, Operation Gladio. This is about government dirt. This is the power of yoga. This is studying the fraternities and the different organizations, Black Root Science. This is just some of the newest stuff I picked up because some of them I had to get them all over again. But books, them books. And I got about 20 of them in the basement. And then I ain't even started going to collect my books in the garage yet. I got a whole stack of books in the garage. Just because this shit's serious to me.
Yeah.
Like, they think that I just be antagonistic to the dirty Moors. I don't give a fuck about them, but that ain't why I'm doing this. I don't give a fuck whether they get antagonized or not. That ain't my purpose. My purpose is the ones of us that know who we are that was already here. I'm just a reminder. Right. Nigga, you ain't come on no ship. You ain't no Hebrew. You ain't nothing in that Bible. If you own anything in that Bible, you submit to the jurisdiction of the Catholic Church.
Right.
Wrong.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Okay, sweetie, I'm going to let y'all drop down. I'm going to take another caller because I ain't going to take but one last time. She had some good questions, though.
Yeah, all right. Well, appreciate you, Rod.
Peace,
all right, thank you, sweetie. Peace. I appreciate y'all chiming in.
For sure.
Now I just tried to get you in here and you ducked out on me last time. You better bring your ass up here. Look, go back to when they first brought the Bible over here. And 1 year in 1491, what was our religion? What was our holy book in 1491? Columbus came in 1492. In 1491, what was our religion? Right? What was our designation? Was we Hebrews before Columbus came? Was we Israelites before Columbus came? Was we Jews before Columbus came? Were we Muslims before Columbus came? We wasn't none of that shit before Columbus came because that shit, Middle Eastern shit, they had nothing to do with us. Right? And so once you understand that part, then you start reverse engineering this shit to find out who the fuck you is and where the fuck you was before 1491. I want to try to get somebody I never had on here before. Some fresh faces for the people to see. Hello. Oh, you ain't even looking at your phone. Jazz. You said you heard Pete, didn't you? You said you heard Pete? No, that's okay. Get your ass up and go Pete. Get up and Pete. Okay. I'm gonna let her deal with her seed, and then if she come back, we'll deal with her because she sounds like she having a time. We ready. We ready for your ass. Hey, hey, hey.
Hello.
Where you chiming in from?
Abundance. I'm in the Atlanta area, but I'm from Chicago.
ATL, by Chicago, by way of ATL.
Yes, it's so good to be on here with you. I didn't even think I would get on.
I got a lot of
Hey.
people waiting. I'm trying to get some new people in because a lot of the people I spoke to before.
Well, blessings to you. I know you hear it all the time. We're so grateful for the knowledge,
Yeah.
the
What?
information, the understanding, the overstanding. I really don't have no questions. I was just trying my luck. I said to myself, I'm like, if I get on, I know I'm gonna forget everything, every question I ever had.
Where you
But
from in the Shy?
huh?
Where you grow up in the Shy?
Well, so okay, so the deal with that is my mom's side, my dad's side, and my step family side is from there. So my dad is from the South. My mom too. Well, everybody from the South, but right now, like my mom's side is in Maywood. Um, my dad's side is moving from the South side. But growing up, we were on 80th and Woodline.
Hey, if Woodline. That ain't too far from my daughter on 92nd and Eggleston.
Yeah, yeah. And then my step family, they been kind of like everybody kind of been all over. So I just be like, but I got family from um my my cousin that's like a sister to me. She grew up in what's them projects called? Um I forget the name. But it's the same one from where King Von and Dirk them from.
Yeah, I don't even
So
know where they from.
um
Them the new generation. I only
yeah,
found out about
cause
them in the last couple of years. I didn't know nothing about them.
yeah. I just know because she like close to him, but I just can't think of the projects right now. But like, I mean, we just all from over that part.
Yeah, I
But
had
yeah,
auntie lived in Ida B. Wells, Stateway Gardens, Cabrini Green. That we didn't live at
yeah, my
half.
mom been out in that area.
I grew up in the Crenshaw district over by
Yeah.
off 64th and Low. I stayed on Sangamon.
Okay,
And
okay.
64th and Sangamon.
Yeah,
And I
we
used to
got out
stay
of
in my auntie at
Chicago like
59th and
young.
Peoria.
Okay. We got out of Chicago pretty young when we went to St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh yeah, a lot of people went to St. Louis from Chicago.
Yeah,
Chicago and St.
yeah.
Louis got a real strong link and connection. Same with Milwaukee and
Hmm.
parts of Minnesota got a strong connection back to Chicago too.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, yeah. My brother is up there. No, no, it's not Minnesota. But yeah, we got family in Minnesota. And then we got a lot of family in St. Louis. Um, we just kind of like we got big families on all three sides. My mama's side, my dad's side, and my step family side. We just really a huge family. So we just like all over the place. But
And all
originally my
all
family
the
is
young
from
ones now
Mississippi.
scattered. All of my little cousins and shit, they was babies when I got locked up. They grown. They all got their little households all over the place now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The family definitely spread it out. It's not like it used to be, real close knit.
Mm.
Um, you know, um, but I guess if I was to ask a question or just kind of get more insight, just maybe I guess off of you, just kind of tapping into my energy. I'm more of a dreamer or like a healer. Um, I have a lot of dreams.
Yeah,
I don't
we
always want
call
to,
them dream walkers.
huh?
In the native tradition, we call them dream walkers.
Yeah. And I'm learning more about my indigenous side. But from my mom line, we Blackfoot. On my dad's side, we have more Cherokee.
So
Um,
look up that word. You'll find out your real tribal name by doing the etymology on Cherokee.
yeah, cause no, and that's crazy. I was gonna tap into that. Like I've seen it like really correlates with Blackfoot.
Blackfoot was one of the tribes. They called them Blackfoot because they had walked barefooted and the sun had cooked their feet.
Hmm.
Right? So they was called Blackfoot, but they was an original tribe. They a spinoff from the Choctaw and the Chickasaw. They
Okay.
fell up under the Iroquois confederations. The kindred tribes is called the Crow. Um, um, I can't remember all of them right now, but they were all connected under the uh, generic term Cherokee. Cherokee is a play on words, Cherry Key, which was the
Mm.
George Washington challenge. That's why
Oh,
That's what Noble Drew Ali discovered by infiltrating the Moorish Zionist temple.
okay.
He brought us. That's why he put all of their secrets in the public domain. So now we can put the pieces to the puzzle together.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so that means I just gotta go do some deeper researching because I didn't really know that, but I've heard the two. I've seen the two, like the Blackfoot and Cherokee, kind of be more linked in together.
Yeah, those are from the. They were from the Mississippi Delta, going down from Jackson to Macomb in the middle part of Mississippi, and it's right up in there is where all of the tribes, the Mississippian tribes, diverged over into. We stopped off there from the west. We stopped off because that's where we got our marching orders for the Gullah Wars from Big Mama. Big Mama was in New Orleans at the time,
Okay.
right? So all of the Big Mamas got together and was like, "Stop the bloodshed." The only way to stop the bloodshed was to challenge them to a conjure war, and we knew they couldn't win, but we didn't have the high chiefs on the land to end it sooner, and the ones who seen it, the lesser chiefs, weren't in the position to do anything about it without getting murdered.
Mm, okay. Okay, that's some note to self to definitely go to keep that in mind when I'm doing, because I definitely want to. I've been doing a little more deeper research into just my native side now, or my indigenous side on both. I didn't even know. I actually just found out on my dad's side that we do have a form of, we have, native blood in us. But I've always known from my mom's side.
Look, we is the native blood.
Yeah.
The Mississippian tribes is the parent tribe.
Hmm.
Everybody, when they talk about tying into the vine, they all talking about being married to one of the old Mississippians. So when all of the tribes come from foreign places, they bring, the women make the arrangements of who, okay, well, you rank this high on your clan, so then I mean you got to marry into the clan over there. That's why it's the great melding pot.
Right.
We darker on the East Coast than we are on the West Coast because we traded wives with Africans. We didn't just
Right.
start mixing with them people. But that's why it was decided to say we was from Africa, because we had been trading with them for thousands of years, which included wives.
Okay. Right. Right.
Yeah, so royal families, that's old news. If you don't know the way that the royal families operate, you'll never figure out why we look the way we look at different parts of the land. You will never figure out why every goddamn culture from Nova Scotia in the north to the bottom of Venezuela to the Samoan and Tongan Islands to Hawaii all got a community in Florida. That's just why they came to fight the Gullah Wars. All of the islands, since you got a little Jamaica, a little Haiti, a little Grenada, all of those islands sent soldiers to fight the Gullah Wars. After the
Hmm.
wars, they set up their communities and maintain their cultural identity to the islands that they came from.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy because this confirmation, my sister, one of my sisters, she's one of my, like, she's a good friend, a good sister, and she's a little elder than me, but she's told me about that, and I really didn't know that much about it, but she did tell me about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it just kind of like confirmation on what she's been telling me. But okay, okay. I did just have a question, and I just forgot about it. What was it? I did just have a question. Um, I don't know. I just have to wait till it come back to me. But yeah.
Yeah. So somebody
But
asked you
I'm
what
grateful
Africa came
to.
over here and traded with us. Study Mansa Musa. They came over here and they liked it so much they stayed. Right.
Okay.
The Mansa Musa staff of rulership was found over here on the island in Central America. That means that whoever inherited that staff is the rightful heir to rule over Ghana, but they didn't want to go back over there. This was heaven on earth, the Americas. This was the central hub for all knowledge, all conjures, right? We didn't we didn't believe in some of the dirt that these motherfuckers has been doing to us. It wasn't in our culture. Now it's a part of our culture because they brought it over here and used it on us. Now we got to use it back.
Right.
That's why we've been stopping the bloodletting, right? And they pulling all of the GMO foods off the shelves. This is why you got whole WalMarts with crime scene tape up while they taking the food out.
Is that why, like, they're letting, like, certain stuff like that shooting that just happened in Virginia, like letting stuff like that happen or something as a cover up? Because I
Um,
mean, they got a lot of stuff going on.
yeah, so if you go look over the last 2 years, you had a ridiculous amount of fires at slaughterhouses,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I
stuff like
remember.
that. That's what that is, getting rid of GMOs. They doing insurance scams so they don't take that loss.
Mm.
One of them had a fucking plane flying to the slaughterhouse. A little twin engine Cessna flew into a slaughterhouse.
But then now you have like different things that's going on. Like now they want to stop natural herbalists for.
That's smoke and mirrors. That's the trigger to people that's into homeopathy and naturopathic medicine to get their ass in this fucking fight. Inform the people of what these motherfuckers is doing and stand firm on your position as a healer. If they don't do that, they're gonna lose their rights to be a healer because they not participating and telling the people that don't let the motherfuckers do that. It's just
Right.
it's an antagonism to call to action.
Okay. Yeah. No, I get that because I was telling my homegirl too, like like they can't just do that. Like, how you gonna stop people
Oh,
from
they can
selling
do it if
herbs
you
and
don't.
stuff? Like
They
they
can do it if
grow
we
in
let them.
nature.
They can do it if we let them.
Right. That's the thing. But yeah. Okay. Yeah. If we
Right.
let them,
So,
and I get that
right.
part too. That's what
Yeah.
I've
So,
actually
but
been.
right as of right now, any legislation going on is fraud. It's fake news.
Yeah.
The Senate and the Congress is closed. The White House
Right.
is fucking closed. The Federal Reserve is fucking closed. All that
Right.
shit closed.
Now, okay, so I remember you saying that before. Like I remember that. Now, okay. So how does that play into quote unquote now we got Kanye West running for president and Trump?
All that smoke and mirrors. This government is over. The fall of America has come. Babylon fell in y'all face and y'all wasn't even watching. So
So
they
that what
running this, they running the narrative to challenge, right? They running a narrative to challenge ideology. Every ideology has to be tested. And if we don't realize that we the ones in the position of power now, then they can't give us the power.
I feel like a lot of us are waking up no matter what level people on, but it's like a mass majority of
Mm,
our people waking up. Like just waking up in general. And I be feeling like, okay, a lot of things be um so we see what the people we see what they into, like the algorithms and stuff like that. So then let's start doing this or let's start doing that. Like that's
mm,
not no, that ain't gonna work either.
yeah.
Just because I remember like just this summer, you got a lot of readers and stuff, a lot of diviners, the women, divining and stuff like that. That now for what was it? What was that going on? I think it was around Juneteenth. And now McDonald's offering here in Georgia, McDonald's offering readings, tarot readings.
Hmm.
Like, come on
So
now.
everything they doing now is geared toward trying to wake up a cross section of the community that hasn't been reached. A lot of the people that's fast food practitioners that go on a regular basis, they live off fast food. They
Mhm.
got a fast food mentality and think that everything's supposed to happen instant. Throw
Yeah,
that shit in the microwave for 30 seconds.
I had an older friend that used to call this the microwavable generation.
Yeah, this is
He was
instant
right
gratification.
though.
Instant gratification. Everybody want it right now. They can't stand to wait. They can't stand to go through the pains of um like the shit that I've been doing for the last 3 years. Before they sent me to do this, I told my mama and the old lady, I was like, fuck them niggas. They like this oppression shit. I don't want to be subject to the ridicule with telling them the truth because most of these motherfuckers would be rather be comfortable in the lie and go along to get along than be waking up by the truth. Nigga, why you disturbing my peaceful
It's so
sleep? I
unfortunate
was being
too.
good for massa, so I
From
didn't
a
want to.
feminine standpoint, it's so unfortunate It's so unfortunate, but it's like I understand that too because sometimes it just get to a point like, I mean, it's like the saying putting you can't put a gun to somebody's head and make them take the information.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. So I
And
didn't want to go through this because look, literally, I got it's mother. I done been on here with Moors coming in hostile, but they leave with a different mindset just by going over the information. What do we already know? We don't need no outside information. This is
right,
what we already know,
right.
right? They came, they gave us the Bible and everything associated with it. Before they came, we didn't associate with nothing that's biblical. Now
And
we're
now we
going to
know
be
who they
everything.
are.
Yeah. And now we're going to be everybody in the Bible. We're going to be the Hebrews. We're going to be the Moabites. We're going to be the Canaanites.
The
Them
Hebrews
motherfuckers
is
ain't
the
got nothing to do
biggest
with us.
one. That's where I kind of started my journey from the Hebrews. And then I just kind of ventured over to esoteric knowledge and then, ATRs. But yeah, the Hebrews is something.
Look, them niggas funny to me. They believe that they can tell you that they organic to this land, but they Hebrews. Hebrews being the ones that crossed over. That mean they crossed over from somewhere else to get here. That mean they don't
You know,
belong.
they go off the
So pack y'all
narrative of the
motherfucking shit.
slave ship.
Yeah.
Like they came over here
Yeah.
by,
Pack
so
your
it's like
shit.
that's why we here. But okay.
Pack your
But I
shit
don't
and go back to the Middle East since you a Hebrew. You ain't gotta stay here. Pack your
it's
shit.
been few that call themselves going back and was
They
like,
can
oh
stay.
no, this is not
Like
what we thought
I know
this
you talking
was.
about like Ben and Me Carter. Ben
Hmm.
Ami took a whole community over there. None of us know about Operation Exodus ran by the Mossad in the early 80s, where they airlifted thousands of falashas from Ethiopia to legitimize the state of Israel because they know the real so-called Hebrews is falashas in Africa.
Right.
So they had a whole thing under the silence. The Mossad done it. The Mossad is Israeli Secret Service. Operation Exodus. Remember Marley was singing Exodus,
Hmm.
movement of Jah people. This is what he talking about. They was moving the motherfuckers right after the song came out from 77 to 83. You gotta remember this that Israel over there was mapped out by a guy named Ralph Bunch, bootlicking ass nigga. Went over there because they didn't know where they was from. They was going to originally set up Israel in Guyana. They was going to set it up in Brazil. Then they
I
picked
didn't
a
know
couple
that.
of different islands, and they was like, "Nah, ain't none of that gonna work because ain't nobody gonna believe that shit." So, and the Balfour Declaration was the agreement to set up the Zionist state of Israel that's over there now, masquerading as an original government over there in a foreign land.
Mm, okay.
That shit don't got nothing to do with us. But we just want to take everybody else's burdens like they our own. That shit not our burden. That's not our cross to bear.
Yeah,
Our
true.
shit got to do with feathers, peace pipes, marijuana, peyote, and motherfucking dancing around the fire while the grid tell the stories by song. That's our shit. Where
Yeah.
the fuck they come from with this bop your head 5 times a day on the ground? You can't live your life like that.
The ladies on my mom's side, they are some storytellers.
Grits.
The women on my mom's side, they are some storytellers and tell a good story.
Yeah, those are grits. All right, sweetie, I'm gonna take another caller. I want to see if I can get Paige Flowers in here if she's still watching.
Alrighty, well, it was good talking to you.
You too, sweetie. Keep it up. Keep your head up.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Is Paige in here still, y'all? Paige, if you in here watching still, say something in the comments so I can invite you in. Okay. See, Paige is a soldier.
Hey
Hey,
y'all, what's going on, Rod?
how you doing?
Good,
I've
good.
I've been watching you kick ass.
Oh, good. I'm over here eating my meal, listening to y'all. I'm like, yeah, this is the conversation our people need to hear. You know what I mean? It's
Look, it's imperative, and it's
yeah,
painful to hear it, but it's the truth.
yeah, it is. It is. One of the sisters I used to talk to, used to be friends with. She went over there to Israel and saw how the Hebrews was living with that subsidized housing.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible. Worse than over here. Worse than over here. Projects worse than over here. Horrible.
Look, on all I love, if you get that nigga bent at me in front of a camera, that nigga cheesing from ear to ear while them people living like that.
Mm. And she said they're not really vegan or raw. Some of them.
They niggas from the hood.
Mm-hmm.
They just claim they Israelites and moved over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She said it was so sad. I said, damn, sister. She said that the environment once you leave outside of the compound is very nice, right? Because of course, the Jewish have built it up. But on that particular land where they at, it's foul. Worse than how they do us over here. So y'all done packed up y'all shit and moved all the way over there just to get treated worse.
In the name of motherfucking Yahweh.
Yeah. Yep.
Sad affair.
It's bad. This is why it's so important. I sit here and I get on these calls with you and I listen to other brothers and sisters that tell us, look, we from over here. I don't know if you know about the sister Linda Bay. I met with her in person and she's really a cashier because she'll show you everything from beginning to end, how we was already over here. You know what I mean? She dig in the archive. She helped me uh, get my family tree together, all the way from the 1600s. I said, we ain't never left. North Carolina, Texas, we ain't never went nowhere.
Only place we went was Florida to fight the Gullah Wars.
Right, right. Like what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We came from all parts of the land to fight the Gullah Wars. The Great Migration, the Great Industrial Migration was us just going back home.
yep, yep. Wow.
Then Mama says a conjure war at this point, and
Hmm.
they never stop attacking us.
Right.
They
Never
they
stop.
never stop burning and flooding cities out. They not that shit. Philadelphia moved. They bombed that motherfucker in the 80s.
Yeah, bombed it. And I was also talking to Linda, and she told me too that all of them was a part of the Morris Science Temple. They just didn't want to put their children in them schools. A lot of people don't know that those brothers and sisters were woke. They were about pushing Noble Drew Ali's agenda, but the Rizzos bombed the people because they didn't want to send their children to school.
Now they
And
say
never.
they went in under the pretense of serving an eviction notice,
Hmm.
right? And when they told them they wasn't going nowhere, instead of doing what you normally do with eviction notice, they sent in troops. Before the fire ever started, they was just shooting randomly in these people's homes
Yeah.
with babies sleeping in rooms and shit. That's how
Mm.
they was able to get everybody in the basement before they dropped the bombs. They knew what the fuck they was doing. Wasn't nowhere for them to go because you got police shooting at them coming out the front, police shooting at them coming out the back. The only thing they can do is get to the lowest point to avoid the bullets. All of the police they got shot by friendly fire. And they charged the motherfuckers that was in the fire with the death of the police. They not responsible for them. There no bullets come out of the inside of that place.
Mm. Right. And it's crazy that our people don't know these things. And even if they was, defending themselves, they still had every right to.
Yeah.
Same thing with the not necessarily the same thing, but we can go back to Breonna Taylor because everybody sleeping on that. Why they shot her in the first place was because of the fact They wanted to buy that building.
Yeah, that was a hit.
That was a hit. They wanted to buy the building. She didn't want to leave. They came in through the side, shot him. And they figured, well, nobody would want to purchase a building where somebody died in, or no tenant would want to move in where somebody died in. So they brought federal charges against them, but see, ain't nobody talking about it no more. See how nobody ain't talking about it no more?
That's because they look like us.
Yeah.
Look, we the
Like,
most forget about it motherfuckers it is.
mm-hmm.
They killed one of us today. Oh, it was just them. Forget about it. Tomorrow we go on about our businesses like ain't nothing ever happened. Shit. I ain't even got mad about the new shit. I'm still mad about them niggas getting in material for these crackers.
Yeah.
Or what I should say, under the pretense of crackers.
Yeah.
They even show it in the movie. When people be saying, that's not true. Didn't know blackness some niggas when he got Emmett Till.
Mm-hmm.
He was gonna grow up to be Chief Littlehorn.
Yeah.
He was whistling fucking Dixie, the war cry. That's why they killed his ass. It had nothing to do with that lady. They used her for the patsy. She was the one that's going right now. Motherfuckers trying to get her ancient ass arrested. I don't give a fuck whether she get arrested or not. I want them niggas so I can find out who sent them niggas.
You know who I need to talk to? His name is, I don't know if you heard of him, but he claims to be the reincarnate of Emmett Till. And I met him at a
Oh
psychedelic conference.
yeah, he wrote a book.
Yes, Tutim Ra. He looked just like him. And I met up with him again at Uncle Hank's place, Brother Hump, you know,
Mm-hmm.
scientist, wizard. And
I got his
he's writing
book.
a book. Yeah. He writing a book on all the people that reincarnated as something else, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But they were the reincarnates of other
But
people. And that was him.
when you study reincarnation, if you don't understand the Sybil effect, you won't know why it's 50 different people saying they're the reincarnation of a certain person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? If the person's DNA is in your bloodline and you vibrate similar frequency, this is the
Mm-hmm.
Sybil effect. This is why you can have the Queen of Heaven and Earth in 50 different cultures at once using the
Mm-hmm.
Sybil effect.
Yeah.
They all connected telepathically, and they all got similar genetic markers that allow them to link on this frequency of the Sybil. The Sibyls was the daughters of Isis,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they was go and like if we sent priestesses to go train, they have to get to the level of the master before they can come set up their own priests.
Right. Yep.
Somebody
Definitely.
they was asking about the sister you was talking about and
Oh,
how to get in touch with her.
Linda Bay on Facebook, and she can help y'all trace y'all genealogy as well as find the land patents. Because your family members had land patents. That's how they took your land away from you. And if you look at Rod's story, he also had that. I don't know. I think I saw it. It was today or yesterday. I don't know. I looked at your story and you was talking about how they took 300 something $billion in land away from us. But she'll also help you find the land patents. So you can get your land back. You know, um, so that you actually know, okay, where was your family at this time? You know, so you also have the record, and you also have the intuitive record, where you feel called to go, and then what actually does the record say too? You know, so she's on Facebook. She's on Facebook, Linda Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I
Wow.
pinned it up there for y'all to see how to spell her name, and y'all can look her up on Facebook.
Yeah.
Um, there's some more sisters. I would love to get in touch with Chief Warhorse.
Oh, Chief Warhorse, the truth. I listened to her.
That's
She's
my
dope.
girl. Yeah. You
Yeah.
remember when I posted her a while back? Ain't nobody know who she was, and I was telling them about fuck that shit. Let me post
Right.
this so they can hear her talk. She,
Yeah.
cause she was
Yeah.
she the one made me look deeper into the Trail of Tears, and it was so clear as day how they switched us out on the trail,
Uh huh.
right?
Yeah.
Because they took us. We was the POWs from the Gullah Wars that
Hmm.
They was using us as we was gonna set up a reservation, But then they matriculated these Mongolians and these Huns and these Hindus in with the group, and then they auctioned us off as POWs